What does it mean to live a flow-based life? I feel like this is a very important video to make because I think it can be really easy to write off the concept of flow-based because it might sound like diffusing responsibility, or it might sound like being someone very lackadaisical who just doesn't care. In my experience, all the people that I've witnessed who live a flow-based life actually care very deeply for life and the lives that they touch. But the difference that I have found in people who live flow-based and people who live in their minds is that flow-based people, it's not that they never come up against challenges or annoyances, but they don't resist the challenges or annoyances that come up. Or if they do resist the challenges or annoyances, then they don't resist resisting the challenges and annoyances, if you follow. There is a certain level of dedication in each moment to relax and see the situation from that moment of, okay, we're here. What is the flow-based step? Rather than having a fixed view of how things should be, which is what sometimes happens when we're not living in flow-based ways. I would say that's probably the highlight here. When we are living outside of a flow-based way, we are trying to mentally navigate our world and the universe and prescribing things that this is how things should be. And if they're not that way, I'm going to be like, well, what? Whereas in a flow-based way, you have a concept of how you're envisioning things, how you're drawing things in. And if things show up in a different way, you go, that's very interesting, never mind, we're from here. And then you continue on the path. It is like, it's almost like skateboarding or snowboarding could be a good physical analogy for flow-based living. You may have a certain trajectory you're envisioning as you're going down, but you may be making pivots as you go. Or maybe you get a little stuck in the snow, or maybe you fall down. That's okay, you get up again. You don't sit there and think and go, well, that shouldn't have happened. Well, how come that happened? And let's sit and think about that. And how can we plan and prevent that from ever happening again? And this is how the mind likes to approach it. And the flow-based way may take into account what has happened, but then it goes, okay, and then from here, how do I best continue on my path? And the thing is, in life, we all have the opportunity to live in a flow-based way that is appropriate for us. Flow-based for you may mean something completely different than flow-based for someone else. But the core concept is essentially boiled down to a lack of resistance to the moment, or maybe a different way of saying that would be an embracing or acceptance of the moment without shame, without blame, or without condemning it. That's the other thing we sometimes get into. And I can say this, like this is something that I've experienced a lot in my life, where even when I upgraded my self-talk, I would subconsciously have these, well, but shouldn't you be doing a little better? Or is this the way it's supposed to happen? And those things, they can be very persistent. And what I have found more and more in my life is if and when those kind of voices come up, I very lovingly receive them. Again, no shame, no blame, and no specific resistance. And I go, well, maybe not, but that's what this is. And if life is always working out for me, and I do perceive that one way or another, life is always working out for me, then whatever's showing up right now is exactly what I need to have my most satisfying life experience in the moment. And if that's so, then I can trust and relax into the moment and then go, what now? This ability to be flexible is powerful not only in your individual life, but it's powerful in any sector of life that you apply it to. And remember, this isn't that you don't care. It doesn't mean you won't feel distress or joy or this or that. But instead of attempting to fight what's happening in the moment, you're giving yourself a bit of a permission slip, Bashar might say, in order to disengage from the part of you that might have originally chosen to stay stuck, and instead to just move from the new position you're in and see where's the next way to go. A lot of times when we feel frustrated, ultimately there's a point where we stop even being frustrated at the original thing and we start just getting frustrated at being frustrated and being so tilted. It's a very funny thing. It's a very funny thing that we do. And when we're operating in a flow-based way, another thing we're doing is we stop assigning power to things outside of us to completely disrupt our lives. Again, we can feel feelings, we can experience challenge, but then instead of blaming or taking on blame or feeling like something's wrong, instead we're able to start interacting with life with like, oh, well, that's interesting. That's an interesting development. I wonder where that leads. Okay, and then let's keep focused on where we're going. I drove not that long ago, I was at a place where you could test drive some racing cars. So I was test driving a racing car and I had an instructor with me. And one of the things that he kept saying to me was, in order to make the turns you want to make, you need to have a long view. In other words, instead of looking at where I was going to be in a few seconds, to look at where I was going to be longer than that, so that I could make adjustments in the present moment, aiming for where I wanted to be. And that's a powerful lesson, because when you're going like 100-something miles per hour and then attempting to turn, you're doing your best to listen to what someone's saying. But I found that was a very powerful lesson that I feel we can apply to our lives as well when we're tuning in. To be adapting our long view even as we are moving potentially in haste in the moment. You enter a sort of flow state. I think I could see how many race car drivers would probably enter a flow state when they're driving the vehicle. It's a very Zen process, even though you are moving so fast, because it almost requires a level of Zen to respond appropriately. You are going beyond trying to think and process with the mind, and you're moving with a more of an automatic rhythm that aligns you to where you are visioning. And so in a lot of ways, you might even look at our lives and our bodies as though we're driving in our own unique race cars, steering through life, going through life. And we have the ability to navigate in ways where we can receive intuition. We can observe synchronicities that are like signposts that are helping us make these decisions as we are driving, as we are moving, as we come up to crossroads and opportunities. If you've watched some of my videos before, and hello, I'm Danielle. We've gotten this far. And this is the first time you've met me. If you've watched some of my other videos, synchronicity is something I talk about often, and it's one of the ways let's say your higher self, we might find a better word for it, but it's one of the ways the more expanded part of you can relay information to you that is helpful for you making choices in the present moment that are aligned with your truest visions. I say truest visions, it's like the part of you when you are listening to your values, when you are living your values, and not the values that have been imposed upon you, but what you live and breathe and heartbeat care about, whether you admit it to yourself or not. When you live those values, when you listen to those guidances and move in a way that supports them in life, you start living what they call a very mythical life. And many of us have tasted that. Sometimes we go for a long stretch and sometimes we pause. I've had cycles where I've lived in a very mythical way and cycles where I've lived in a very constricted way. I want to let you know just this experience, because I think it can be so easy for us to also watch many people, many teachers, many guidance videos and say, okay, well, I got to try and aim to get to where they are. We're all swimming in the same ocean. We're all swimming in the ocean. And we're able to better orient ourselves. We're able to listen to the cycles and ride the waves with more clarity. So, even though we're all experiencing maybe the same churn or waves, as you start to remember information like this, as you start to meditate more, spend time with yourself, listen to your inner guidance, you're being guided to live lives in ways that don't tumble you as much, then you can start surfing the waves as they come. And this is what I perceive you're doing. Nice. Tuning in to see if there's anything else to share. If you've been having a rough time, just remember that you're not alone in this world. You're not alone in this world. And I'm perceiving that you're really doing quite awesome. You can be, I almost wanted to say, like, be kinder to yourself, be kind to yourself. Just remember that if you're watching this far in the video, you're doing really rad. I invite you to take a nice, deep, relaxing breath and really give yourself that if it feels good. You're doing rad. The time of making this video, next flow container registration is open. The flow-based container is a 5-week workshop experience. I take up to 6 or 7 people through this experience. We do 1 call a week. First week we do grounding. Second week we do ancestral reconnection. And by the 3rd week, we are setting into practical daily motion our true north-based habits. We are actually imprinting them on all levels of our being so we can live them in practical ways and expanded ways. It's a very powerful transformational reset, community experience, and synchronicity amplifier. Oh, it is a synchronicity amplifier. I'll have a link for it in the description. You can also message me. I'll have a way to message me in the description as well. I look forward to all the ways we get to continue to connect. And if you ever feel inspired, you're welcome to check my links and see if there's any offerings there that may be of support. Remember, in all cases, you got this. Please do feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if this has been of service to you. I look forward to connecting soon.